Hey, it's Michael J. And now that the fall has come and gone and we just entered the new year, I thought I'd talk about the books I've been reading. So I guess I'm doing periodically a book reading conversation series on my YouTube channel. I didn't expect to do that, but it's kind of fun to do it, and I like talking about the books I'm reading. I have my cup of tea here. Usually when I'm reading, a lot of times I do my reading at a coffee shop. There's one kind of nearby my house, 5 Sips Coffee, and I go there all the time. I get a lot of good reading done at the coffee houses. Just recently, for Christmas, I got this book called Lodge, and it's a kind of a coffee table book, but it's got it's about all the lodges of the national parks. My favorite being, the only one I've been to is in Yosemite, the Ahwahnee Hotel, which is my favorite hotel, I think, ever. I'm sure there's great hotels throughout the world that are worthy of being the best hotel ever, but in my experience, the Ahwahnee is the best hotel. Interestingly, my parents were there last summer. I wasn't able to go because there was a family reunion, but I got COVID on my plane trip back from Italy. So I could not go. It was the next weekend. But they were saying that a lot was under construction, that even though the service people were all very nice and kind, there was a lot went wrong with that stay, and they were very disappointed, especially for the money you pay to be at a place like that. But this book, I've been reading at night at home, just chapter by chapter. There's not a lot of text, it's mostly pictures, but I've been reading the text and savoring it slowly over the past week, and it's making me want to go visit a lot of these lodges, and definitely I'm going to plan a trip to go to the Oasis in Nevada, in Death Valley, and also the hotel that is in Grand Canyon, because I have never been to the Grand Canyon anyway, and so that would be fun. And then there's another one in Oregon I want to go to. Anyway, the list is going up. I don't know if I'll hit all of them in here, but I think that's maybe a fun goal, and also you get to see the national parks while you're there. And these days, my idea of camping is staying at the Ahwahnee Lodge. So that's how it is. The last time I talked about reading, I was going to read this. My next book was going to be Hirschfeld, a biography of the caricature artist, a Broadway and Hollywood caricature artist. I just haven't got to it, and so it's big. I was going to read this next, and I got sidetracked. But I did say I was going to read for October Ray Bradbury's The October Country, which is a series of short stories, and I read about half of it during October. During October, I was in the throes of putting on the musical Avenue Q at my school where I teach, and so I tend to read a lot less. I don't go to the coffee shop as much, and I'm just doing other things with my time. I usually would be reading. It's busy. So I got half of it done. See, I have a marker right in the middle. And these are great stories. I love Ray Bradbury. I'm always so struck by his use of metaphor and his imagery that he creates. And I actually stop and reread little passages just to soak in the way he just described something. Also, his stories are fanciful and full of imagination, and I really enjoy them. And they're short stories, so you get through one and you can move on to the other. That's also why I stopped reading it. It was the end of October. I wasn't in the Halloween-y mood after Halloween went by, and I got interested in another book I'm going to show you about. So I can always come back next October, and I'm going to do the second half of this, so I'll save it. I got a recommendation for this published diary from 1951 through 1961. It is Ned Rorem. Ned Rorem is a composer of classical music. I think he's between 27 and 37 or 39 or something, somewhere in there. So late 20s and all through his 30s is what he's writing about. And he's an American. I guess you could say he's a musical protege in a way, because he had early success composing classical music, and he had a charmed life, I think. He lived and worked in Paris and New York and he preferred being in Paris and also Italy. And he had an Italian boyfriend who he calls P. He's very discreet. He'll talk about his love affairs very casually and as if there was no such thing as 1950s McCarthyism or homophobia going on. You know, it was like an unspoken, horrible thing in the 50s. And this person is living life as pretty much an openly gay person, having no problem with, as far as you can read here, he doesn't worry or complain about the problems of being a gay person in 1950s society. And yet he's conflicted and he worries about what's going to happen next to the future, where his career is going, and you can read this and say, oh, the career's doing fine. But he doesn't know that at the time he's writing, and he's always wondering what's to become of him next. And also he does concern himself with how lonely he feels sometimes. So you do get a sense of, you know, he doesn't have a life partner, he doesn't have a permanent relationship, and he kind of worries about that sometimes. And then at other times he looks at it as a sense of freedom and that he doesn't mind. But he did this boyfriend called P. See, he won't even write down the full person's name in the book because which indicates he was concerned about somebody reading it and the person getting into some sort of trouble over it, should they be discovered. But he's not so much worried for himself as the other people in his life who he doesn't want to out, so to speak. So, but he's has a interesting long-distance relationship between P from Italy, back and forth between Italy and he's in Morocco some of the time, and then Paris. Anyway, I just finished it. It was really interesting, and now I know something about an artist I had no idea existed, actually. I never hear anybody talk about him. For Christmas, I received this book from my mother, and it's called Old Films, Young Eyes, A Teenage Take on Hollywood's Golden Age by Simone Elias. She is actually from my hometown of Placerville, and at the time she signed it. She did a signing, and I guess my mom picked it up at the signing. She is 15 years old at the time of writing this, and she's very well versed on classic film, and she talks about getting into it when COVID started, and we were all at home, and she started watching old movies, and she just got caught up in them. Her gateway movie was It Happened One Night, and she just loved it. So, but she writes, she's very much a feminist in her young years, and she looks at the films through those eyes. It's a teenage point of view, which I'm glad they say this, a teenage take on Hollywood's Golden Age, because she doesn't have the life experience to look at some of this stuff with the perspective that I think it requires. So it really is from somebody who's been on this earth only 15 years, and just in the last couple of years, her preteen and early teen life, seen just a bunch of little movies. And she really has seen tons, and she has a list in the back of her favorite films, and a lot of them have a female lead, a really strong female lead in them, and so you can tell she's gravitating towards these films that where women are empowered. But it's kind of enjoyable, and I'm always enthusiastic about a kid who gets into classic film. Okay, next. That's everything I read this fall. Oh, well, just yesterday I picked up this little biography. It's very slim. It's old. It's from the 20s. It's called Maud Adams, A Biography. And it's got this, I picked it up because it's just so cute and slim. And it has this wonderful little painted version of a photographic portrait that she's famous for, of Peter Pan. She was the original Peter Pan in 1905 on Broadway. She played it on and off for about 15 years. I was hoping, since Peter Pan was on the cover, we'd hear some more insight into her being involved in Peter Pan, but actually this biography reads like a kind of magazine expose of an actor, and so it's summarizing their career and with some trivial tidbits in between, and so it doesn't I'm sure, I haven't looked into what's the best biography of Maude Adams that exists, but I'm sure later people wrote about her in a much more detailed way. It's kind of cool. I breezed through this yesterday. So now it's just a little artifact I have. Okay, so I'm either going to go back, I haven't decided because I'm still finishing this, and I might do Hirschfeld. I just hate carrying this around because I can read, I have a study hall, and I do a lot of my schoolwork in the study hall, but I'll have time to read. I mean, I'll be done with something and finish my emails or whatever, and I'll be waiting around, so I'll just read. And I always have my book on me, but carrying this around, I might just have to do it. Okay, the other thing is also just as big a book, I mean equally as big, is this. I found this on my shelf. I totally forgot. Somebody recommended this to me. I don't know, some group I'm in on Facebook was talking about it. It's called Like People in History, a Gay American Epic by Felice Picano. And I found this used hardcover book with I love dust jackets because I like, when the dust jacket art is interesting, and this one is, because it's painted, it has these people in the window, looking out the windows. Anyway, it sounded like good. Somebody says, I don't know why they don't make a movie of this. They should have a long time ago. Anyway, so I thought, oh, well, if I find it used, and I did, I will pick it up and read it. So it's narrative fiction, and that's probably what I should read next because I've been reading biographies and criticism and the diary, and maybe it's time for some fiction. So I think right here in front of you all, I've just decided I'm going to read People Like Us next, and then I can dig into Hirschfeld after that. Hirschfeld, poor Hirschfeld. He's been waiting for me to read him for quite a while now. And meanwhile, I'm going to, at night when the fire is going and I have my cup of tea, which I have here, I'm going to finish luxuriating in the lodges of the national parks. And I will definitely, once I plan a trip to one of them, probably the Death Valley one might be the next, I don't know. Might be it's close, or I could go to the one in Oregon I want to go to. One of those I'm going to take a trip to them, and I will take you along for the ride because these are magical places. Until then, happy reading. Thanks for watching.
Discovers as my book ends how to make two lovers